What's good? It's Wood. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I just watched Alexander Povetkin versus Dillian Whyte 2, and I've got to be honest, I thought Povetkin was going to more or less do the same thing. I thought he was going to find a point within 12 rounds to catch Dillian Whyte cleanly with some sort of a sophisticated but explosive attack. If nothing else, at 40 plus years old, Povetkin still appears explosive in spots. And he's obviously a former Olympic gold medalist. He's got the skills to pay the bills. I just thought that he was going to figure something out, even if he was losing rounds, throughout the fight. Not to mention that Dillian Whyte had knocked him down twice in the 4th round of their first fight. So, when I'm watching the first fight, I'm thinking, damn, is this the beginning of the end for, Povetkin? Because he was looking more lethargic than you're used to seeing. You're used to seeing him kind of change levels, pretty decent, good foot speed, and being able to move in and out and explode and kind of hop into it with a hard, knockout hard right hand and to kind of pick your spots. He was just more agile, right, several years ago. He's had a very long career. He's like 42 years old. So that obviously is a concern, but no. Like, while Povetkin did look old, he looked just as old in the second fight as he did in the first fight. The story of today is the amount of pressure that Dillian Whyte was under in this circumstance. Like, this was a must-win situation for Dillian Whyte, because he'd been knocking on the door for his WBC title shot. Never got that title shot. He was a mandatory challenger for, I believe, multiple years. He didn't get his fight with Deontay Wilder, right? So he ends up taking a fight during the pandemic in like August, September of last year. And I always thought that this was like an ill-advised fight, because I thought that Dillian Whyte's next fight was going to be against one of the three kings, if you will, right? So he's fighting a lower top 10 guy at the time. Still, Povetkin was still within the top 10, even if he's years out of his prime. And he suffers that devastating knockout in the 5th round. So immediately returning to the scene of the crime, even if it's taking place in Gibraltar and not, where it took place in the first fight, to go right back into that fight with the same guy who knows he just put your lights out. He knows he just put your lights out. And we know that even if I'm winning the rounds, I being Dillian Whyte, if I'm winning the rounds, it's a possibility that at any moment he could shut my lights off. That is a difficult hurdle to overcome, I would think, psychologically. But he's going right into this fight much in the same way that Anthony Joshua did against Andy Ruiz. Tons of pressure into that fight. Most people who were like, boxing heads were like, why is he doing it? I get wanting to do it because it's all people are going to want to talk about until you rectify that and redeem that. But the stakes is high. And it's like, if this lightning strikes twice and Povetkin finds a way to pull off the upset twice, because even though Povetkin knocked him out in the first fight, Dillian Whyte was even a bigger favorite for the second fight. Povetkin was a bigger underdog for the second fight. I found that interesting. But this is pretty much, win or go home. You know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of being able to compete with the elites and have a realistic chance at getting a title shot. This was that for Dillian Whyte. And he just delivered and delivered and delivered. He blasted Povetkin in the first round. It looked like it might have been stopped in the first round. Povetkin was hurt, and Dillian Whyte was just an animal. And most people thought that Dillian Whyte, if anything, was going to be the more patient one, where, Povetkin is going to be patient as well because he doesn't want to expend a lot of energy. He wants to pick his spots. But the slower the pace of the fight is, the better it seemed to kind of favor Dillian Whyte. You don't want the Dillian Whyte versus Povetkin fight to be chaotic if you're Dillian Whyte, because that means that it's happening, the action is happening under Povetkin's terms. And so the fact that Dillian Whyte was the one who just jumped on Povetkin and tried to finish Povetkin in the first round, with the stakes being this high, look, I don't think that his next fight's going to be against one of the three kings unless he's somehow able to lure Deontay Wilder into a fight, which it looks like Deontay Wilder is still in illegal entanglements with Tyson Fury. And, it's rumored that conflict is one of the impediments to Fury versus Joshua being made. So we don't know what's going to happen with Wilder. So I don't think we could expect or assume that Whyte versus Wilder is the next fight that's going to take place alongside Fury Joshua. But from a you're free and clear to move on standpoint for Dillian Whyte, check. This was major. This was crunch time. And yes, we could Monday morning quarterback this going forward. And I think that's going to unfortunately be what a lot of heads do, is look back and say, yeah, but Dillian Whyte had to redeem himself against a 40-something-year-old Povetkin. Or just to acknowledge that Povetkin, was kind of a shot fighter. And now it's even more evident of that. And I do think that Povetkin needs to hang it up. But we didn't know that going into this second fight. Last moment we saw between these guys in the ring, Dillian Whyte was flat on his back looking up at the stadium ceiling. So I just don't want it to be lost on how heavy and high risk this fight was for Dillian Whyte, man. Like, that he shined when he had to shine. And we could, get into the X's and O's, down the line. I mean, I thought that his jab, and my dad, I'm watching it with my dad, my brother, my mom. But my dad suggested that the jab was the story of the fight. And it stopped Povetkin from really, really being able to let his lethal right hand go. I know he dropped him with the left uppercut, and that was the thing. That's why I thought that Povetkin was going to knock him out in the second fight, because the punch that he knocked him out with wasn't even that money signature punch that we've all come to know as, probably Povetkin's most lethal finishing weapon. That kind of looping, always kind of dipping while you're just throwing your whole shoulder into it, your hip into it. That right hand isn't even what finished Dillian Whyte. So I thought he was just going to have his hands full because he's going to have this PTSD and he's going to be guessing, which one of these assassins is going to take me out. I thought he was going to have some sort of a moment like that. But no. He whooped Povetkin's ass from the opening round. I didn't expect that. I thought that, once I saw Povetkin and cleared his head late in the first round, I'm like, okay, seems like he's getting his bearings back. Let's look for him to start picking his spots now and put his foot on the gas and stress Dillian Whyte out a little. But Povetkin had to bide his time, and he was just on the outside. I did not see him launch a lot of successful attacks. He did get Dillian Whyte to agree to go kind of head to head and have those phone booth moments where both guys let 1, 2, 3, 4 punches go before they break. Because I was thinking Dillian Whyte probably wants to get in there, deliver some body punches, do some damage, but then get out. Don't linger, because this guy's launching. But more and more in Povetkin's career, his combination is kind of done after he does that first surge of 2, maybe 3 punches, He's not Manny Pacquiao today, where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, 6. No. It's more, the attack is seemingly more, not predictable in pattern, but knowing that if he puts his foot on the gas, that he can't keep his foot on the gas. You guys are going to clinch up. But he hurt Povetkin badly in the first round, and I don't think Povetkin ever got his legs back under him, and Dillian Whyte just punished him over the course of a few rounds. I forgot which round it was stopped in, but boy, he whooped Povetkin's ass. I didn't think it was going to go down like that. But yeah, let me know what you think. What do you think's next for Dillian Whyte? Not Joseph Parker after that. Joseph Parker was lucky to get a win over Junior Fa. I thought that should have probably been called a draw. I think a draw, if ever, that felt like a draw. But what do you want to see happen for Dillian Whyte next? Do you want him to see him fight Andy Ruiz or Luis Ortiz? If not, Deontay Wilder? Ruiz is obviously tied up for the foreseeable future with Chris Arreola. That's his next bout. Pay-per-view. Ouch. I hate to see PBC kind of abusing the pay-per-view model in that degree. I understand they got to get their bread, and they did it with the Charlos, and even more successfully with Gervonta Davis. And obviously with, Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia and a couple others. But they really do put some fights on there as pay-per-views that are not pay-per-view worthy. I understand that this is a slightly better undercard than than a lot of boxing fight cards deliver. But Andy Ruiz on his comeback fight after, splitting with Anthony Joshua, from a cultural standpoint, okay, I get it. If everyone's going to come out, and celebrate that this is Mexican versus Mexican, that is true history. But from a rankings standpoint, this wouldn't be a pay-per-view worthy fight, right? Last we saw, Chris Arreola was in a slugfest, with Adam Kownacki, which I thought Adam Kownacki shouldn't have looked that bad against Chris Arreola by that point of Arreola's career, to where Kownacki, who is supposed to have some skills and finishing ability, is over here lured into like a classic brawl with Chris Arreola. Anyway, we're going down the hole now. But let me know what you want next for Dillian Whyte. Leave your comments in the comments. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're into the fight talk. I'm Wood. Thanks for tuning in.